Hi, my name is Bill O'Brien. After a very decent career at Penn State, I was given the GM job for the Houston Texans. And to reward myself for getting the GM job, I'm going to give myself the head coach position and completely screw up the Houston Texans forever. By now, we all know that superstar wide receiver and arguably the best receiver in football the past decade has been traded to the Arizona Cardinals for basically nothing. And Bill O'Brien's response was that they didn't want to give him a contract extension. But we're going to get into details about how the past 2 years, Bill O'Brien has completely screwed up the Houston Texans. Last year, they franchise tagged Jadeveon Clowney and traded him to the Seattle Seahawks for 2 linebackers that are no longer on the team and a third-round pick. For a player that's about to get a huge contract and probably around $20 million this upcoming free agency, or the upcoming days when this video is uploaded. And then he sends 2 first-round picks in a second to the Dolphins for Laremy Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills was unproductive, didn't do a single thing, and Laremy Tunsil, I'm sorry to say it, a left tackle cannot fix an entire offensive line's problem. I don't think Bill O'Brien realizes that. A left tackle can fix the left tackle position. He's not going to fix your whole line because they didn't do anything with that O-line, despite getting Laremy Tunsil. Because Deshaun Watson was still sacked the most times out of anybody in the league. And then he trades a bunch of mid-round picks to the Chiefs for Carlos Hyde and a bunch of mid-round picks to the Browns for Duke Johnson. And then a year later, he realizes, oh, I don't have any more mid-round draft picks. So let's find a player to trade to get some. We got Arian Foster, who we can trade because he's banged up. He's coming off an ACL tear. We could trade Will Fuller, who's very good, has a lot of potential, but he can't stay healthy and he can't help us right now. We have a young center and a right guard that isn't all there yet, but we can trade and get a mid-round draft pick. Oh, we also have some veteran D linemen. We have some corners that we should let walk in free agency. Maybe do a sign and trade. We have a couple unexperienced safeties we could trade. We also have Whitney Mercilus, who is age in his early 30s, that we could trade. He's taking up a hefty contract. We can trade him, right? No. They decide to give up the best receiver in football behind Michael Thomas and a second-round pick in return, so they can get David Johnson, who they traded a bunch of mid-round picks for Hyde and Johnson, and then they they trade another running back. That makes complete sense, right, Bill O'Brien? And then you're going to have to coach this team because you're such a good GM, you gave yourself the head coaching job. David Johnson is a great running back in all means, but he wasn't good since 2016. And that's a hefty contract you're taking on as well. You're willing to pay David Johnson the same money that you weren't willing to pay DeAndre Hopkins. So you have DeAndre Hopkins in Arizona. You have Will Fuller, who I think is very good but can't stay healthy. Kenny Stills, who I think is completely overrated. No star tight end. One good offensive lineman for Deshaun Watson, who I think is overrated as well, but I have to admit he's a decent quarterback. And he can develop to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Now you overpaid for a corner to re-sign your corner, and you have an well over experienced linebacking core that is about to break. And you've done nothing to fix that, have you? And they still think Brian Cushing's still playing or something because they feel like their middle linebacker is the best in football. Brian Cushing has been retired for a couple of years now, folks. Bill O'Brien has no brain, and he can't fire himself because he's GM, and he's not going to give up his head coaching job. They got a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick next year for Deshaun Watson to have nobody. You get a second-round pick for Deshaun Watson and have nobody. Complete nobody. So you get David Johnson, you get a second-round pick, and you get a fourth-round pick for next year. But you also gave up a fourth-round pick this year. So all you're getting is a second-round pick. Come on. Amari Cooper was given up for grabs for a first-round pick straight up. That turned out to be 27th. And you're telling me all you can get is a second for DeAndre Hopkins? That is crazy. And he still expects to make the playoffs this year. What a buffoon.